السلام عليكم. إني المدرس المساعد نور غافل، التدريسية في الجامعة المستنصرية، كلية الآداب، قسم الترجمة، أستاذة مادة الترجمة الإدارية والتجارية للمرحلة الثالثة. ستتضمن محاضرتنا لهذا اليوم نبذة عامة عن ترجمة النصوص التجارية وأهم المصاعب أو التحديات التي قد يواجهها الطالب أثناء تعامله مع هذا النوع من النصوص. In this lecture, we are going to highlight some important issues in translating business texts with reference to their problems and solutions. Translation is a driving force in modern society, which provides and promotes effective communication among different nations around the world. It is an invaluable tool that transmits knowledge and shares ideas, expertise, and information. Of course, the advancement in various fields has dramatically changed the way we experience different aspects of our lives, including education, culture, science, economy, and business. And since we are talking about business, translation proves to be an absolutely reliable means devised to promote business between not only individuals but also public and private business institutions in countries that use different languages around the world. And the translation may deal with different aspects of international business by translating various types of agreements, business plans, business and market reports, financial documents, as well as insurance documents. Now let's focus on some characteristics that features business texts. Of course, the nature of business texts may considerably differ from other types of texts. The language used in these texts is an informative, featuring impersonal style, tending to be formal. The terms in these texts belong to a number of business domains, such as management, finance, and marketing. Presenting facts is one of the main features of business text, and simplicity is another significant feature of these texts. And its significance lies in reducing the work needed by the readers to do in order to comprehend and understand the text, and therefore to minimize and avoid the risk of misunderstanding or ambiguity. Thus, business texts use simple and declarative sentences to ensure this simplicity. Concerning the equivalence in translation, the type of equivalence sought in business translation is generally determined by linguistic factors rather than paralinguistic factors, which basically, of course, relate to non-lexical elements of text. This indicates that the functional equivalence can be the dominant type when rendering business texts. And since we are talking about functional equivalence, it's worth mentioning that this type focuses on the function of the source language expression and attempts to create a TL expression that performs the same function pattern of the original. Concerning the strategies used in translating business text, the selection of a translation strategy depends on the availability of target language equivalent business term, which are usually technical and objective in nature. In addition, you should know the purpose of translation. The purpose of translation sometimes determines the method of rendering source language text into target language. Is the translation going to be used for general information purposes? Is it going to be published? Is it going to be used by business institutions to understand the nature of business in a specific area? So, generally speaking, directed translation is the most common translation strategy adopted in rendering business text specifically. And it, of course, can be followed by borrowing, explanation, and various equivalents. Let's take an example in business text. A business cycle is a short-term pattern of economic expansions and contractions. Of course, in order to achieve a target text equivalence, there's a need to decode the syntactic and the semantic components and then render the source text. The best translation, the suggested translation for this sentence. Let's analyze the sentence first. The meaning of the sentence. A business cycle. The noun phrase business cycles means دورة اقتصادية, and the verb to be denotes the tense here. When we render the sentence into Arabic, it would be a verbless sentence, or we may add a verb. Economic short term قصيرة الأجل pattern نمط. Economic expansions and contractions التوسع أو الانكماش الاقتصادي. The translator would be الدورة الاقتصادية هي أحد الأنماط قصيرة الأجل لفترات التوسع أو الانكماش الاقتصادي. or تعد الدورة الاقتصادية نمطا من أحد الأنماط أو نمطا من الأنماط قصيرة الأجل لفترات التوسع أو الانكماش الاقتصادي. We may or some changes may be occurred in the translation, but we keep the content, we keep the whole information. There are some simple additions like تعد أحد, the word أحد, we have expand the meaning into or add some words تعد وأحد the word فترات. And of course there would be more suggestions for this example. Since we are talking about translation, so there are challenges and problems. So translating business text may, may have some problems. The problems of equivalence in business text can arise in different domains and at different levels. The word level equivalence is of immense significance here. Let's take an example and then explain the idea. For example, the word depression. Depression has more than one different meaning according to the domain it may occur. Depression in psychology refers to انهيار or اكتئاب, while depression in economy and business denotes كساد or ركود. In weather forecast, the word depression is rendered into منخفض جوي. So the domain here determines the meaning of the word, and the domain can be investigated according to the context, of course. Another example. So here, of course, here this reflects that the students and translators should be aware of the different uses of a word in order to select the accurate meaning of the word. Another example, the word duties. In general, it means maham or wajibat, but in business text, it refers to رسوم جمركية. What makes equivalence more complicated is the availability of more than one equivalent translation in the same domain. So we have one domain, but more than one rendition. For example, the word business in business domain. The word business means أعمال تجارية, but in the plural form, businesses means شركات. The word logistics. The word logistics has different renditions into Arabic within the business domain, and there is no specific criterion to prefer one equivalent upon the other. So logistic has different renditions. The one of these renditions is علم إدارة تدفق البضائع, which basically relates or denotes the meaning or of managing the flow of goods, information, and other resources, such as products from the production area to the consumption one. The term can also be rendered into Arabic through borrowing, of course, by اللوجستية. Another translation, الخدمات اللوجستية. We have expand the meaning here, which could be used in military, commercial, or production fields. And despite the availability of different renditions of logistics into Arabic, yet علم إدارة تدفق البضائع, or the term السوقيات, remains the most appropriate suggestions in the context of business texts. Let's take the term bottleneck. Bottleneck in business doesn't have one Arabic translation which can clearly account for the meaning in the business field. One of the available translations is اختناق. It may denote اختناق, which provides a very general meaning of English term, But in business, bottleneck refers to congestion in production system. So here the translator may paraphrase this word and render it into اكتظاظ سلسلة الإنتاج or اكتظاظ نظام الإنتاج. Both are suggestions to reflect the meaning of the term. Let's list some guidelines for students and translators when they deal with business texts. When translating business terms between English and Arabic, students are advised to adopt or select commonly used target language equivalents. The commonly used target language equivalents. Number two, students or translators may further explore the context-based meaning, and the usage of the source language terms to ensure that the selected target language equivalents denote or reflect the specific meanings of the source language terms. Furthermore, a preference can be given to commonly used terms instead of accurate terms, which may not be familiarized or known to a larger readership. And of course, students and translators should familiarize themselves with the contextual usage of certain business terms whose meaning significantly differ from one context to another. Of course, they should sharpen their own skills to learn the extensive terminology which characterizes business text, and they may also need to have they must have a good command of both the source language and the target language, in addition to mastering research skills which are needed to carry out the translation of complex business text. Reliability in business text can be achieved by paying attention and taking into consideration the whole source details and information, and reflect this on the target translation. Finally, they should avoid machine translation because sometimes, due to strictness of time, many students or translators resort to machine translation, which can be impractical in rendering the whole text. Machine translation can be used to render single word or simple phrases accurately. It's okay, but when we deal with a text, machine translation is impractical. Before we conclude our lecture for today, let me raise the next question, please. Would you translate the following title? Promotion policy. Promotion policy. What does this phrase mean? Promotion policy. First, here we have to ask ourselves, what does the term promotion refers to? how would we translate promotion policy into Arabic? Here we have to know the synonyms of promotion. Promotion may be rendered into Arabic as ترويج and ترقية. So the translation may be سياسة الترويج or سياسة الترقية. A single word here may cause misunderstanding and affect the whole meaning of the text. How we can determine the translation? So what is our tool to determine the appropriate translation? Our tool is to examine the context, to realize the domain, and select the intended equivalence. And thus, we can, in this way, we can know the correct translation or the appropriate. Both are correct, but the appropriate translation should be selected according to the context and the domain. Okay, this is all for today, my dear students. Thanks for listening.